It's my turn right now for the live demo, and we're actually back on time, on schedule, which allows me to stay longer if I need for my live demo of Kamcli. Let me share my screen. Okay, I hope you can see it. Looks so. So for the live demo session, I wanted to show Kamcli for a few years now on the mailing list, but also on like Bug Tracker or our online developer meetings or on-site developer meetings, where this discussion about the control tool, Kamcli, which it's from the first days of the project, used to be SerCTL, OpenSCR-CTL, now Kamcli, a shell script which over the time got more like a bash script, having bash as the most popular shell interpreter in the past years, but now that's somehow changing. We have ZSH or Dash or other shells in as default ones in different Linux or BSD or other Unix distributions. And there were reports on issues with Kamcli running on these newer shells or alternative shells, as again we are kind of getting into a bash-like scripting. The tool was doing the job pretty well when you learn it and you are able to give the right input for the parameters because input validation it's quite limited in bash, and then also formatting the output it's another limited aspect. Of course, you can rely on different other CLI tools, but from my perspective, it was clear that we should move into another approach. Luckily enough, a few years ago, one of my customers, which was very familiar with Python and Click framework, as they were using it for other internal tools, made a prototype of what's now Kamcli and shipped the code to me without willing to be involved on any public maintenance or development of this tool. It had a few good comments already embedded in the initial version. I'm not a Python myself, so I did a lot of extension to this tool based on, looking at the existing implemented commands and then adding around that and extending. Practically, this tool is hosted on our organization now, Kamailio organization on GitHub. It's github/Kamailio/Kamcli. It tried to be as much as possible compatible in terms of command line parameters, the format of the subcommands, and so on to help transitioning from the old tool. On the other hand, being written in Python, and the latest version is Python 3, as Python 2 was removed from many stable Linux distribution by now. We still have a branch for Python 2, but focus it's on Python 3 only. It's definitely better input validation, so you can specify, I expect an integer, I expect a string here, and you can even specify, I expect these values like enum of string values or a range. it's quite flexible from this point of view. The Click framework from Python, it's amazing from that point of view. Makes it very easy to do it by just using declarative arguments and options for the subcommands. And then also the output could be better formatted based on the needs. You can leave it like just pure JSON output from the RPC command. You can make it like more compact in YAML format, and that offer way more flexibility from all the aspects. It interacts with Kamailio via the same module, JSON RPCS. It's the same used by Kamcli, by the older tool. So no big change from that perspective. It should just work with the default Kamailio configuration file. It's using Unix socket instead of FIFO, because from Python that's trivial. Using sockets from shell, it's a little bit more complex, as opposite of using the FIFO file with cat and read from that file. And it's also a little bit more scalable to my knowledge. Lately, as practically we discussed more or less about 1 year ago at the developer meeting in Düsseldorf, Matthias was there. It's also here on I saw him earlier today on the conference room as well. Came with the idea of adding an embedded interactive shell. He planned to work on it. He tried a couple of prototypes, but at the end, I found a solution, and I just pushed it a few weeks ago. And since then, I quite contributed a little bit, as I found good documentation about the tool, or it's another framework from Python behind it, the prompt toolkit. So now with this interactive shell, you have like auto completion. So the command name shows up as you type persistent history. So you get out, get in, and you can scroll up the previous commands. Completion suggestions from the history. So as you type, it's gonna show what it considers to be the best match. Even CLI line syntax highlighting, the bash one, so you can see integers or strings on different colors. And also the usual key bindings for navigation. So you can do Ctrl-R and do history search. You can use Ctrl-A, Ctrl-E for jumping at the beginning, at the end of command line. So I find it actually quite nice and surprisingly easy to develop, as, again, I'm not really a Python developer by far. I consider myself even below newbie in Python, but I was able to contribute quite a lot. On the repository, there were a couple of contributors and contributions from Matthias, and then Victor helped with better formatting, like automatic formatting on commit and so on, which keeps the code quite clean. So this is just to give a presentation. Now I'm gonna share my screen and do live demo of what Kamailio or Kamcli can do. Hoping that after this one, more people will use it, and a couple of more contributors jump on the wagon of bringing this tool to the next level. Likely to do a presentation in a new stable release of this tool soon to mark these new additions. Okay, so maybe this one is the tool I want to share or not. Is it? Can you see it? Yeah, so I hope you see my terminal. It's on a lab server I have. I just created an empty directory here just to clone from the repository to show like an installation. It's in Kamailio, MCLI. We'll go to this folder. I don't remember by heart these installation steps, but it's quite simple. So this is the README. I hope you see. Let me increase the font just for sake of being easier to watch it. Hopefully it's better now. Somehow. So the README has good enough documentation as presentation of the tool. The good part with the framework is that the documentation for the comments, it's inside the code, so it's very easy. Once the code is updated, to update also the help, the associated help with the sub-comments. I'm going to show it also in the code. Going further on the requirements, practically I installed all these dependencies on Debian package. So I'm not gonna do apt-get again. I'm just copy. Let me go to another terminal on this. This the right thing. Yeah. So if I paste now here. This was something contributed by Matthias. I already had this installation of the package, the requirements from the pip. So this is installing the requirements. What you have to do extra installation would be MySQL client, because theoretically it should work with Postgres or anything else that is supported by SQL Alchemy. So that's like an ODBC layer for Python. You can switch to SQLite or Postgres. And to install it globally, it's practically like just, this is for the development, the comments here, but to install it globally, you can just hit install current folder, checking again the dependencies, and now we are having it start. What's quite important, and I have it in the README, it's about the configuration file. By default, we don't deploy it automatically, but you can do it from the folder. So I already had it. Probably from a previous, the directory exists, we deploy the global one. There is an option. So for example, if you do now help, it shows you can do install in the user folder instead of the global one, and we'll place it in the user home folder dot config dot kamcli. Now this config file, it's ini-like, and it has the usual domain, which you typically have to set also for kamctl in kamctl-rc. It supports command aliases, so maybe you have some command that you use pretty often and you want to shortcut it to something else. This is at the global level. Database connectivity, then the control tool, so we use this JSON RPC, the group of Kamailio, how to communicate for the JSON RPC, and actually I see here it's using either FIFO or it's using the socket as we specified. socket type, it's going to do socket. You can specify FIFO to use the FIFO attributes instead. And the output formal for these RPC commands, and we have it in the YAML compact format. For the interactive shell, there is another section where you can have aliases inside the interactive shell, and here you can shortcut full comments with parameters and so on. So just type that, and I'll show it during the demo. So this, now we have it installed. I think Kamailio, it's running here. Grep Kamailio. If I do Kamcli, so this is the old tool, uptime. I have this output. I just change into Kamcli, and I have the YAML format because it's what I put in the configuration file. If I do etc Kamcli, and I put here the JSON, sorry, it's taken from the local one. I have to go out of the sources because it's checking. Now it's also Kamcli in the taking the global setting in the etc Kamcli. So it's practically the same output as with old tool. Let me go to the compact format because I like it more. So I switch back to this YAML, and yeah, if I do Kamcli uptime, you see it again in the YAML format, a little bit more compact. And this is also like for the PS, we have a compact format because I change it to the output to be, again, more compact, as opposite with the Kamcli, which it does it pure JSON. You can also do it pure JSON with Kamcli. Even this one you can run like RPC, and then minus half. I can run it with RPC, and then have I think it's core PSX, the equivalent. So this is the YAML format as we want it. The PS command, it's having its own handling of the output, and it's more compact. Now, if I look to the sources of the PS command, this is practically catching the output of the command and then printing from the YAML or the JSON output in a single line. So practically, I can convert this as I want more. So you have a more compact with a dedicated subcommand, or you can use the generic RPC PS command to get the output. And you can run in the command line all these, like for Kamcli, db show version. This is old tool. You get it here. You have it with the new tool, CLI db show version. It's different output because of the handler internally. But you can actually change here for db show minus h actually. We have the output, so db show version -f, and I can get it as JSON. And I can get it as a dictionary. JSON I'm not sure what's this because it's from the Python supported tabulate extension. So you can change this very in a more flexible way. And if you want to start the interactive shell, Kamcli shell, it gets you into this prompt. If you start typing now, you have to type from the subcommand like db show. You have here option as you type, and suggestion from the history. Its version you can eventually spot here the highlighting for the strings. And if I type it, you get it here. I can again search on the history, and I got it here. I can jump Control N, Control beginning. I think you have also delete, Control K, and then it's suggesting like version from the history, left arrow, you got it from there. You can run PS, you can run all these commands that you have with Kamcli. You have the internal help. So as I said, you can shortcut aliases for the internal. So this is going to give, sorry, it's an internal command. Now if I type U, it's the uptime. Just by typing U or DV, it's showing the version table. So the internal commands, they start with colon in front, you know what's the exit and so on, the command map. You can even run shell commands from the shell. So like seeing what's in this folder, you can use the exclamation as a start of the command. So you can do like ls slash to see what's on this system. So you have full. You can even connect to the database like db CLI connect. And now I'm in MySQL client. From this exit and back in the CLI. It's using what you set up for username and password in the Kamcli ini, so it's convenient not to type again the password to connect to the database if you want to do some operation directly to the database. What else? Like syntax highlighting DB1. If you press, you see different colors. This just to show different colors, numbers, and strings here. And exiting, you press here, and that's it. So practically, you have these two operational modes. One shot from the shell with output printed, easy to pipe to different other tools, and the interactive shell with quite some fancy features that can help operating it. What I actually want to show further, and maybe I'm gonna spend a little bit more time, it's extending it. So going back to the sources, remember if you're running from the sources, it's gonna use the local Kamcli because it was convenient for testing. It's using the ini file from the CLI, from the source folder, so Kamcli, and then the commands, the subcommands are practically files started with cmd underscore and the command name into this folder. You just need to add here a new file for a new command, and then follow the click framework documentation, and should be easy to extend. So if we look, I don't know, like CMD hash table to make Fred happy because he likes this. So practically, we created a group of subcommands here, and then we implement the command of these subcommands, like list, like get. So it's using ctl command to run this RPC and handle the print output, setting the command like inserting in memory, direct in memory, a string value, or inserting in memory integer value, removing from memory, then flushing, like cleaning everything, reloading from the database, so trigger the reload, trigger a store to the database. Again, they are just wrappers around the comments, but for convenience, and you can see the help very easy, are written here. For more complex, like database add. So here we specify if you have a different database table name, so it doesn't have to be hash table. By default, it's hash table, but you can specify by this field. Then you can specify column names as parameters if you don't use the default ones, and then specify the value type, and it's expecting this the key name, key value, key type as parameter. So this corresponds to options or to arguments. As arguments, it's expecting only two, key name and key value, defaulting to the type in for val type, defaulting to these column names and database table names. It has, Python 3 has UTF-8 support natively, so we have to do some encoding, decoding to be sure we don't get the strange characters. And then we practically insert to the database based on what value type we have, either as an integer or as a string, the value in the database table. As I said, many of these commands were actually, so Kamcli hash table, but then you have very good help. So if you just want to get, then you get here what you should give as parameters with the documentation text that you have in the code. Maybe I can actually add in like 3 minutes a new command as Kamcli commands. What would be something simple here? Maybe Kamcli commands cmd entry. So this is adding, trying to figure out how complex it's beginning. Okay, let's do it this way. If I run Kamcli, let's do it with Kamcli shell srv and RPC list. What would be interested to see as another command? This memstats, or what we don't have, we have key, we have flags, reset, echo. Okay, let's do an echo to see what this is doing and adding a new command. So practically, we add in Kamcli command cmd echo dot python. I'm doing a lot of copy and paste, so I'm gonna open another things, commands, cmdps as an inspiration. So I'm gonna copy this one. Hopefully copying is gonna work over. No. Let me use the mouse because the terminal doesn't get the bindings. Okay, I hope it looks good. Now I just have to change. So it's a single command this time. It's echo RPC test. Echo RPC test. I think it was core echo, and I don't want to do any callback. So I don't reformat the output. I leave it as it's from the now if I do pip3 if I do Kamcli -h, I get the echo. And if I do Kamcli echo, I didn't do anything as a parameter, so it was just giving back an empty. Now, if I go to add a parameter, Kamcli, let's go to so it used to code for Kamailio, comments, cmd echo. So I have the prototype, but obviously we want to add some parameters to see the echo. Let me take from this one as a parameter. So it's click argument. Name it txt. txt, and we have to make it here txt. And we have to pass it as a parameter now. Just to be sure I haven't done any. Maybe this is too complex. I don't see transport socket, RPC command. Let's give it a run and we'll see how it's going. So, typically I do it in virtual environment with local updates being immediately visible. So if I do pip3, that I did it, echo -h, and shows now already that I have a parameter. And if I do it like hello, get it from the Kamailio back to. So practically we added a command, of course, not maybe that useful. I wanted to show it's not complex to do it from this perspective. A lot of copy and paste can help, especially for inserting to a database, like take from hash table or inserting in subscriber. You see how these options are provided, and you work from the other examples. It's how I actually do it a lot. Now, to try to end this, let me start the share screening and just go quickly to the GitHub. This coming in. So this is the README, and again you have to just show it a bit better than on the terminal. Besides seeing what's the list of subcomments, you have also some examples, and you have also a list of keys binding for the terminal. I think there are a few more. I listed the most important I tend to use. So that's it practically. Again, that was more to reveal what this tool can do, and hopefully now more people will find it useful and will get a few more contributors. Especially, I would like to have some help on testing with Postgres, being a very popular backend for Kamailio. I plan to do it as well, but I don't usually deploy the Postgres for my deployments. I use MySQL. I don't see any problems to have most of the commands just working. Only this, what I did, the DB connect, might need using a different command, because behind it's actually executing a shell command to go into the MySQL client. So yeah, this is it. I hope you enjoy it a little bit, and hopefully some of you will contribute. If you have questions on this presentation, Benjamin Digen, I remark it was pretty awesome. That was about the presence. Don't drop table. Raw power, don't drop table. Always it's good to do some drop from time to time, otherwise we get bored. +1 for autocomplete. Yay. Anyone that spotted call questions? Not to scroll myself on the. If not, that was the presentation, and it's now the time for the party, more or less. Ali Shirvani, thanks for the live demo. Thanks as well.